All right, let's jump right in. Picture this. You're pulling into a Costco parking lot on a Saturday afternoon. You watch a brand new pickup truck back into the spot right next to yours. It's a crew cab, it's got that blacked out grille, factory fresh paint, and the kind of chrome that actually hurts your eyes a little bit in direct sunlight. A guy steps out. He's wearing a polo shirt with an embroidered logo from, a regional HVAC company. He unlatches the tailgate and he loads in one case of bottled water and a giant bag of toilet paper. And that's it. That is the haul. That is literally all the truck did today. And here's the kicker. That truck cost more than his parents paid for their entire first house. So in today's Explainer, we're going on a mission to figure out who can actually afford a $50,000 truck in 2026 without quietly turning their entire financial life into a slow-motion car accident.
So, who can actually afford a 50 grand truck in 2026? Well, to answer that, we need to start with something nobody really wants to admit out loud. $50,000 used to buy you a really nice, luxurious truck. Today, 50K barely gets you a base model with the door panels and the wheels included. Seriously, we are not talking about the loaded trims with heated steering wheels and panoramic sunroofs here.
Because get this, the actual average transaction price for a new full-size pickup in 2026 is a staggering $66,000. That's the typical buyer. That is what people are actually driving off the lot in. So when we talk about a $50,000 truck, we are talking about the lowest rung on the ladder. It's just the floor.
Let's actually take a look at what that floor looks like. These stripped-down work truck versions sit right below the line. The most popular Ford F-150 trim sits around $48,500. A Chevy Silverado LT is roughly $47,900. A Ram 1500 Bighorn is about $47,500. But wait, by the time you add a couple of basic options, taxes, dock fees, and whatever creative line item the dealership invents that week, you have easily crossed 50 grand before you've even thought about leather seats. This is the quote-unquote reasonable truck, and it's still $50,000.
Now, here is where it gets kind of crazy. The crucial point is comparing that truck cost to what people actually make. The median household income in America right now is about $84,000 a year, pre-tax. We are literally asking the average American household to spend roughly 60% of their entire pre-tax annual income on one single vehicle. A vehicle that, by the way, will be worth about half of what they paid for it within 5 years. Trucks have quietly become luxury items, just wearing a high-vis vest. Section 1, the dealership magic trick. So how on earth are people actually paying for these? Because let's be real, practically no one is dropping cash. When you walk into the dealership, the salesman who has been doing this for 15 years isn't going to ask you what total cost you can afford. Instead, they hit you with this magic question. What kind of monthly payment are you comfortable with? Notice they didn't ask what truck you can afford. This specific question is a magic trick. It's intentionally designed to completely obscure the total cost of the vehicle. And here is exactly how that magic works in the real world. Auto loans are being dangerously stretched. For trucks specifically, nearly 30% of new vehicle loans are now between 73 and 84 months. That is 6 to 7 years. And if you're one of the 43% of buyers who are rolling over negative equity from your last vehicle, your loan almost certainly gets stretched to that full 84 months just to make that monthly payment feel manageable.
Let's actually do the math here and pull the curtain back on this illusion. Say you buy a $50,000 truck, $0 down. You get a 7% interest rate, and you stretch it out over 84 months. Your payment is $754.85. Honestly, sounds somewhat doable, right? But look at the total. Over the life of that loan, you will pay $63,470. That's $13,470 in pure interest. You essentially just bought the bank a free Honda Civic just for the privilege of spreading out your payments. And I really want you to sit with this shocking number for a second. In late 2025, 20.3% of all new vehicle purchases in America came with a monthly payment of $1,000 or more. No way, right? But it's true. 1 in 5 new car buyers is paying over $1,000 every single month. That is literally a second rent. The bank doesn't care if you have to eat ramen for 3 years. The bank just wants its money. Section 2, the true monthly cost. Because guess what? The loan is just the beginning. Let's explore the hidden, recurring costs of ownership that conveniently never make it onto the window sticker. When you rapidly stack up these expenses, it is seriously eye-opening. You've got that $755 loan. Insurance, that's about $185. Fuel, well, a full-size pickup gets about 18 miles per gallon, so if you drive 15,000 miles a year, you're looking at $275 a month in gas.
Add in maintenance and specialty truck tires at $90, plus registration and taxes at another $90, your true monthly operating expense is a staggering $1,400 every single month for 7 years.
To see what this actually does to a middle-class family, let's look at the Garcias. They're dual income, taking home $5,600 a month. They pay their rent, childcare, groceries, and utilities. Then Carlos pays his $1,400 truck expense. Look at the bottom line there. $0 left over. Nothing for new clothes, no date nights, no 401k contributions, zero emergency fund. The truck didn't ruin their life. The math did. And you can bet nobody at the dealership sat down and showed them this math. Section 3, the grocery getter reality. Now look, if you actually use your truck for work, more power to you. But for most people, the behavioral irony here is genuinely fascinating. A massive survey by Strategic Vision proves exactly what we all kind of suspected anyway. 75% of truck owners tow once a year or less. 70% go off-road once a year or less. And roughly 90% never use their truck for any kind of actual work. Statistically speaking, the modern pickup truck is essentially just a tall, expensive, gas-thirsty grocery getter.
Take Dave the accountant, for example. We all know a Dave. He bought a truck thinking he'd, get really into kayaking. Well, the kayak is just $400 garage art now. In 3 years, Dave has put exactly 3 things in his truck bed: a bag of mulch, a Christmas tree, and a $40 Facebook Marketplace couch. That couch didn't even cover 1 month of his truck payment. Trucks have really stopped being trucks for most buyers. They're just pristine Costco vehicles.
Section 4, the $1 million choice. And this brings us to the absolute most critical part of this explainer, the massive opportunity cost. Let's say instead of the $50,000 truck, you bought a boring but incredibly reliable 5-year-old Toyota Camry. The total monthly cost of that Camry, including the loan, gas, insurance, is about $700 a month. Compare that to the truck's $1,400, you have completely freed up $700 every single month. And that right there represents opportunity cost. It's the potential financial benefit lost when you choose one alternative over another. In this case, it's what that extra $700 a month could be doing for you if it wasn't disappearing into a depreciating piece of metal in your driveway. If you took that $700 difference and just invested it in a basic S&P 500 index fund, returning a historical average of 8% annually for 30 years, you would end up with $1.04 million. $1 million. That is literally an entire retirement fund. That is the compounding opportunity cost of every dollar spent on that truck, and I promise you, nobody at the dealership is going to tell you that. So let's bring it back to our original question. Who can actually afford this? Well, under traditional financial wisdom, you should use the 20-40-10 rule. You put 20% down, finance it for a maximum of 4 years, and keep your total transportation costs under 10% of your gross income. But the modern truck market, it completely defies this logic. To actually fit that healthy financial profile for a $50,000 truck, you'd need a salary of roughly $150,000, $10,000 in cash to put down, and the budget to absorb a payment near $950 a month. That limits the true buyer pool to roughly the top 15% of American earners. The new car market has quietly abandoned the middle class altogether, yet folks making $60,000 to $100,000 are still buying them by stretching out these terrible long-term loans. And they do it because the entire financial structure gently nudges you toward the truck. Think about it. The dealer, the bank, the insurance company, the gas station, absolutely everyone profits from this transaction except you. The auto industry is no longer just selling transportation. They are selling identity packaged as transportation, and they're financing it over 7 years.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to really consider the next time you step onto a dealership lot. Are you buying transportation, or are you just financing an identity? The bravest financial decision you can make in 2026 isn't buying the giant truck. It's doing the math, looking past the blinding chrome, and choosing to secure your own financial future before you sign anything.